Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Well, it's the Senate Intelligence Committee's turn to hold hearings now that Devin Nunes has made the term House Intelligence into an oxymoron.
But today's public hearing will help, I hope, the American public writ large understand how the Kremlin made effective use of its hacking skills to steal and weaponize information and engage in a coordinated effort to damage a particular candidate and to undermine public confidence in our democratic process. Our witnesses today will help us to understand how Russia deployed this deluge of disinformation in a broader attempt to undermine America's strength and leadership throughout the world. We simply must, and we will, get this right. The chairman and I agree it is vitally important that we do this as a credible, bipartisan, and transparent manner as possible. As was said yesterday at our press conference, Chairman Burr and I trust each other, and equally important, we trust our colleagues on this committee that we are going to move together and we're going to get to the bottom of this and do it right. As this hearing begins, let's take just one moment to review what we already know.
Yes.
Russia's President, Vladimir Putin, ordered a deliberate campaign carefully constructed to undermine our election. First, Russia struck at our political institutions by electronically breaking into the headquarters of one of our political parties and stealing vast amounts of information. Russian operatives also hacked emails to steal personal messages and other information from individuals ranging from Clinton campaign manager John Podesta to former Secretary of State Colin Powell. This stolen information was then weaponized. We know that Russian intelligence used the quote-unquote Guccifer II persona and others like WikiLeaks and seemingly choreographed times that would cause maximum damage to one candidate. They did this with an unprecedented level of sophistication about American presidential politics that should be a line of inquiry for us on this committee. And candidly, while it helped one candidate this time, they are not favoring one party over another, and consequently should be a concern for all of us. Second, Russia continually sought to diminish and undermine our trust in the American media by blurring our faith in what is true and what is not. Russian propaganda outlets like RT and Sputnik successfully produced and peddled disinformation to American audiences in pursuit of Moscow's preferred outcome. This Russian propaganda on steroids was designed to poison the national conversation in America. The Russians employed thousands of paid internet trolls and botnets to push out disinformation and fake news at a high volume, focusing this material onto your Twitter and Facebook feeds and flooding our social media with misinformation. This fake news and disinformation was then hyped by the American media echo chamber and our own social media networks to reach and potentially influence millions of America. This is not innuendo or false allegations. This is not fake news. This is actually what happened to us.
That's pretty freaking incredible. That is so exactly what we have been trying to tell people who rely on their Facebook feeds and these Twitter retweets and, Trump says he's got 64 million Twitter followers, 25 million Twitter. No, they're bots. They're actual bots. They're fake Twitter accounts that can tweet about 1,000 tweets a minute. There's thousands of them. There was fake news. Here was just in a brief little summary. This is how it looks, okay? A three-headed hydra is what we got here. You've got hackers stealing damaging emails from the Democrats. They also stole emails from the GOP. They also hacked into voter registration rolls. They chose only to release publicly the Democrats' emails and information. None of the Republicans were damaged in any way, although they were hacked as well. And I'll play you how Marco Rubio testified. He didn't testify. He had an opening statement of his own today. He said that his presidential campaign was hacked as well. And then we'll go review Comey's testimony, where Comey says that the voter rolls were hacked. Now, that's a very key piece of information. The stories that were based on the hacked information were then generated by trolls, by fake news, some for profit, some out of Russia, some out of the Balkans, some Americans. They started to glom on to this WikiLeaks release and create a whole crapload of fake news. That fake news was also propounded out into the American appetite for information during the election, and it appeared on Twitter and Facebook as real, and it was fake news. It was posted by thousands and thousands of automated bots. It was posted on Russian English language outlets. It was posted on RT. It was talked about on RT and Sputnik. And then the right-wing news outlets started to repeat those stories, like InfoWars and Breitbart. And then Fox News followed. And then mainstream media started commenting on the veracity of whether or not you could believe these news stories and where did this all come from. And everybody began to talk about stuff based on fake news reporting that wasn't even coming from this country. And then, after Russia hacked the voter rolls, Russia released them to somebody who was able to then micro-target voters likely to vote for Hillary Clinton in the last 2 weeks of the election in Wisconsin, in Michigan, and in Ohio to try and suppress the vote. That is what they're investigating. Well, that's what they know. Okay, that's what they know. What they're investigating is what was the level of cooperation? What was the level of collusion? What was the level of knowledge on the part of the Trump campaign, the Trump transition team, and currently the Trump presidency? That's what they're investigating. How deep did it go? Now, the voter rolls are really important because that's where, I don't know why Warner was so nervous this morning. He was very, very tense, didn't you? He was just fumfering there, stammering and fumfering and stuttering. I felt bad. This was his moment. This was it. But anyway, he tried to explain to you that we need further investigation on how, not if, but how the micro-targeting of American voters using email, Facebook, Twitter, political advertising was tailored so precisely, individual messages to individual voters. Somebody stole the information. We know Russia hacked into the voter rolls, and somebody pushed it out into the U.S. body politic. This is the problem. This is the question that needs to be answered. Who got that data and who was able to micro-target voters in swing states so that Trump ran and Trump won? I mean, the polling was correct. It said Hillary Clinton would win by 3%. She won by 3%. Let's not, get everybody's, back in an arch. But she did. She won the popular vote by 3 million votes. That's what the polling showed that would happen. It did happen. That was correct, okay? What was incorrect was the micro-targeting of certain voters to suppress them from showing up for Hillary. And those voters were in those swing states where Trump eked out a razor-thin victory. Listen, I'm not relitigating. He did eke out a razor-thin victory. He is the president of the United States by virtue of the vote. But this was a very damaging campaign that was conducted by Russia, an American adversary. And we know they're an adversary because we have sanctions upon them for invading their neighbors, for killing journalists. They have testified today at these hearings in the Senate that they had never seen so many dead Russians pop up in just a period of a few short months. This has never been seen before. Okay, so that said, let's just review that the fact that the voter rolls have been hacked. Okay, this is Comey's testimony from a week ago Monday.
What I did not hear you say is whether or not there had been any attempts to hack into election systems of any kind.
I can answer that because the FBI's responsibility is in the United States. We saw no indication of that. We saw efforts to penetrate voter registration databases, state boards of elections at that level. We saw no efforts aimed at the vote itself.
But you did see efforts to penetrate registration rolls?
Correct.
Did you see efforts to penetrate any other portions of election systems other than registrations? In this country, it's a highly decentralized system. And as a consequence, as you will recall, then Secretary of Homeland Security Jay Johnson indicated that election systems should become a part of our critical infrastructure for cybersecurity purposes.
Their efforts were aimed at the voter registration systems in various states, and it takes different forms in various states. Sometimes there's a private vendor, sometimes it's state, but that's where it was focused and not on the vote itself, vote machines, vote tabulation, vote transmission that we've seen.
Thank you.
Get it? Get it? Okay, good. Good. Because they targeted and hacked into and made efforts in all 50 states, according to, well, at least in the swing states we know, to identify voters and their registration. How, were they Democrats, Republicans, Independents? Were they likely to vote? Were they likely voters? Had they voted in the last election? Had they voted in midterms? How likely were they to show up on election day and vote their party? And the party is something that you claim on your voter ID card. So they did that. The Russians did that. They made an enormous effort to get those voter rolls hacked, to get the information so that they could micro-target specific voters using email, Facebook, and Twitter, political advertising tailored precisely to those voters to suppress the vote. This began in October. Here's one of the intelligence operators. They said, if you need to ensure that white women in Pennsylvania don't vote, or independents get pissed in Michigan so that they stay home, that's voter suppression. You configure what your target demographics and locations are from the voter rolls, and then you use that to target your bot. This is the big picture. Okay, so this all happens at 10 o'clock this morning. Morning, everybody. Morning. By this point, I had 2 cups of coffee and my stomach was killing me because I have ulcers. Hey, somebody write me an antibiotic and just let's get rid of this thing. Really, I've been chasing it with every homeopathic remedy because my doctor said, no, just don't eat cheese and don't eat spicy food and you'll be fine. And avoid alcohol and coffee and sugar and sugar substitute. What kind of quality of life is this? Just give me the damn antibiotic. Apparently she did call it in. My insurance doesn't cover it. It's very expensive. Buy a stinking podcast. Randy needs an antibiotic. Oh, man. Okay, so that was 10 o'clock this morning. Now, about 1 o'clock this afternoon, the New York Times releases this unbelievable story. Now, I'm here. I'm working. I'm trying to put together the story of the Senate Intelligence. I'm trying to grab the video. I'm going through the C-SPAN. I'm doing whatever I could do over here. And then all of a sudden, this bombshell of a story comes out in the New York Times headline. 2 White House officials helped give Nunes, Devin, the intelligence reports. Devin Nunes said that he went to the White House to tell them that his sources, his secret sources in the intel community had given him information that incidental collection had happened and that he had to tell the president, except it came from the White House, which is what every single reporter worth their weight in styrofoam was reporting last week. I kept playing you my favorite clip, Manu Raju, saying the info he believes came from the White House. Why won't Devin Nunes say it didn't? He keeps asking him over and over, Devin, did it come from the White House? Just tell us. Did it come?
Mr. Nunes' comments today to reporters when we asked him specifically, did you get this information from the White House? And Nunes said he could not rule that out. He actually would not comment about where he got the information showing that some Trump transition officials, their information, their communications were picked up by U.S. intelligence. Now, Mr. Schiff says that he is, quote, baffled by this decision by Mr. Nunes not to rule out the White House from leaking this information to Devin Nunes, saying that perhaps, raising the possibility that perhaps the White House was behind this. That's something that
everybody gave him a chance. I mean, you got to say that, Democrats like Adam Schiff, like we're always like, come on, Devin. Even Sean Spicer, don't I tell him every day, quit your job. Stop selling your soul to the devil. Stop it. You'll have a much better life. We try to rehabilitate you. We give you a chance to tell the truth, even when you've lied to our face. We are forgiving people. And we tried, and Devin Nunes wouldn't do it. He wouldn't say that his information came from the White House. So the damn reporters, the damn New York Times, Trump is attacking the New York Times on Twitter. He said, the failing at New York Times has disgraced the media world, gotten me wrong for 2 solid years. Change libel laws? Got that, New York Times? Donald Trump wants to outlaw you for getting to the bottom of this story, and they did. Here is what it says. It's not a long story. A pair of White House officials played a role in providing Representative Devin Nunes of California, a Republican, and chairman of the House Intelligence Committee with the intelligence reports that showed that President Trump and his associates were incidentally swept up in foreign surveillance by American spy agencies. Let's take the break, and we'll come back and see if my prediction that it was a White House counsel is true. But you see, in this story, it says a pair. That would be 2 people. So I only got it half right. Because, it was a White House counsel. But there's a pair. So who was the other one? Oh, you're going to be shocked and appalled, depending on where you stand. Jesus, people. Jesus. We got the pettiest people serving in this Republican Party. And a president that does not understand the First Amendment or libel laws or any other thing that he's in charge of, for that matter. Holy crap, man. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.